Hey there, Brian Davis, Home Improved Man. I'm going to do a short video on putting a hole in a wall and being able to run wire up through a wall. There's lots of ways or lots of reasons why you might want to do this. For example, you might have a heat controller, thermostat that you want to run. You might want to put in an alarm system. Might want to put in a new switch or a new outlet. And running these things up through the wall can be a little bit challenging. So I have a controller for a dehumidifier that's going into the basement. And so I'm going to run a wire up through the wall in order to control it. The controller is going to be in the living area of the house. The dehumidifier is in the basement. And so we don't want the wire on the outside of the wall, obviously. And so we need to be able to find a spot within a wall that we can run it. This video is specifically for running wires vertically through a wall and not horizontally. And the reason why is that the shape of the framing inside the wall really determines how complicated that might be. Most of the framing inside of the wall runs vertically. So that means that you're running the wire through the channel created by those vertical studs. And so it's fairly easy. All you have to do is create a hole in the wall and then create a hole in the bottom or top plate of that stud wall. Running horizontally means that you would have to put holes in each stud in order to get that wire to run all the way across it. And so it's a lot messier, a lot more involved to make that happen. So keep in mind as you're doing this, you want to be able to set up the access, the entry and exit points within the wall within the same stud channel, and hopefully you don't run across any vertical cross members that might impede the movement of the wire, and you'll see why in a moment. So first we go over here, and what you'll see is I've already put a hole inside of this closet. This is where I want the controller to end up. Now, because the dehumidifier controller doesn't need to be out in the open, it's not using any information such as temperature or humidity out here, I can stick it into a closet, which is why I'm putting it back there. But it doesn't matter where in a wall that you want to make the penetration, running the wire is the same thing. What I need to do is to be able to find that spot in the basement, and that's difficult. And so we need to find a landmark, something that exists both up here in the living space and also down in the basement, so that we can find that spot from below. You might use plumbing fixtures. You might use an existing wire that's already, that's down there. Both of those can sometimes be a little bit confusing, because in this case, I have a kitchen that backs up to a bathroom. And so when you're looking at plumbing fixtures, it can sometimes you can be uncertain whether you're looking at a plumbing fixture from the kitchen or from the bathroom. But what I have here in this house is, over here, I'll show you, this is an outlet for a range, and you can see a very thick gray wire coming out of it. And so that's going to be a very easy thing to identify in the basement. All I need to do is to find that, and then I have a location within the basement. So I measure the spot where this gray wire goes down into the basement, and then I measure my way over to that spot in the wall that I want for the controller to be. So I've already measured. I'll show you in a moment. Come back over to this side, and you can see down there, let me go this way. Down there is our range. And from there to this light switch is 88 inches towards the front of the house, and then 10 inches towards the side of the house. So I'm going to go down into the basement, and I'm going to look for a wire that comes out of the ceiling of the basement, of the crawl space, 88 inches and 10 inches in that position. I don't have to be exact, but I can look for approximately in that location. And there's one other thing that I have over here, if you can see. There it is. An outlet. So, I have an outlet down here, and I have a switch here. So I'm looking for 2 wires that are coming down. That'll give me that location on the wall. All right, I'm in the crawl space, and here, right there, you see it? Right here, that's the gray wire coming out of the floor in the kitchen, and so that's my range hood. So if I move in this direction, that direction, 8 inches, and I go that way, 10 inches, I should find the wire that's powering the switch. And there should be another wire coming down of about 2 feet, that little further that way. That would be the outlet that we saw. So if we go over here, here is the wire for the switch that I was looking for. And if I go to the other side of this post, there is the wire for the switch. And then over here, this is that outlet that I found. And so I want my spot, I measured off of the wall, and this outlet is about 8 inches off the corner. I want to go a few inches further so I don't hit the wire. This, right there, is the spot that I want to drill my hole. You see here this nail and that nail. Those nails are in the bottom plate, the 2x4 that's at the bottom of the wall. So I simply move a few inches in this direction, I drill a hole, and I'll be inside the wall, and then I'll show you what happens next. Here we are back in the basement. There are 2 things that we're going to need in order to move forward. One is a drill, and the other is fish tape. So this fish tape, what you'll see is that it is a spool with a stiff wire on the end of it that will send up into the ceiling. So first, I know where I'm drilling the hole. Once you start to, you want to check it from time to time, because once you start to go through, you want to make sure you're not seeing daylight as you start to get up into the ceiling. If you're seeing daylight, that means that you're not inside the wall, you're outside the wall. And we don't want to be outside the wall today. No daylight. So now what we do is we use this, and we fish it up the wall. Now you need a second person for this portion, because there's going to be another person up top that's going to be looking for this to pass by that little hole. It can take a little time. It's like trying to shoot darts blind. And so they're using the sound of this against the wall to try and find it. And it does take a little bit of time and a little bit of practice. All right, here we go. You got it? All right, hold on, let me give it a little slack there, pull it through. Okay. So as you can see, we have the tape here. We got it running up through the hole. And Stephen on the other side has found it. All right, so as you see here, we have the fish tape up at the top coming out of the hole. And next step is to connect the wire to it and then just draw the tape back down into the crawl space. We are ready to run the wire through the wall. So on this fish tape, it's got a little bit of a hole in there that we're going to use. We need to connect the wire to the fish tape. If you're just running a household wire, you can take one of these. You can run it through the hole that's already there. You can fold it back on itself, and you're going to have a very secure connection. And the security of this connection is really important because you don't want these two to separate inside the wall. Now, because we're not doing that, we're using a wire that has an end that we don't want to cut. Although these can be replaced, they're a bit of a challenge to do, so I'm going to try and keep that on if I can. I'm going to use a bit of string. I run the string through that hole. And there we go. Tie a knot in the string so that I have a loop, because the loop is going to be a little bit more secure, less likely to become disconnected or unravel the inside of the wall. There it is. I have the loop. Now, I will take one end of this wire, make sure that the wire is not going to get hung up, and I'm going to use electrical tape to hold it in place. So we're going to take the wire and our Cat 5 connector, and we're going to put it in the middle of that loop, and I could also tie the string around the wire, but I don't think that'll be necessary. And as I start to wind it up, or start to wrap it in tape, I'm going to start at the fish line because it's going to be moving in the direction of the fish line, and so if it catches on anything, it's going to start to push the tape back. And so I want it to move with the winding of the tape. And don't be stingy with the tape. It is really important that we don't lose this whole thing inside the wall. So over tape rather than under tape. I start walking the tape down towards the string, towards the end of the fish tape. And then as I get into place, I'm going to put my wire into the middle of it all. The first couple winds of tape around all this is going to be the hardest. There we go. As you're going around, I want to make sure that I'm not making it too bulky, because I'm worried about it catching on anything, especially inside of the wall. And so I'm going to take it back again. Again, you can't use too much tape. And then really give it a good tug to make sure it's going to hold in place. And then again, this is another place where you want two people. One to pull the fish tape back into the crawl space, and the other one to feed it in this direction so it's least likely to get hung up anywhere. If I lose this inside of the wall, if I lose this connection, I got to start all over again. So really important that we keep this moving. Slower, slower, a little slower. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 minute. All right, keep going. Keep going. All right, stop there. So all the wire, except for what I need left on this side, has been run through the wall and down into the basement, so I have some space to connect my final piece of equipment. All right, so back underneath the house, over here, we have the hole that the wire comes through. We have our wire that comes down, and here you can see we got our wire fully through with our fish tape. And so we're now ready to connect it to a device down here.